Everybody, welcome to my third video log here on cybersecurity topics. When I started TechX Cyber, I wanted to start some sort of security awareness training platform, but just using a different angle, less about training and more about education. I think these are going to go under this particular section that I labeled Cyber Advice. So let's just call this one Cyber Advice 3. My name is Dustin Mooney. I'm with TechX Cyber as well as CyberFinders. TechX Cyber is a cybersecurity consulting firm. I provide digital forensic services and also consult with businesses to help them understand their cybersecurity challenges and risks, and then guide them in a direction to make smart cybersecurity decisions. CyberFinders is a matching service for companies who are looking for cybersecurity services, and a matching service with companies that can provide those services. So if you are a customer who's looking for some cyber help, you can go to cyberfinders.com. Many different experts in different topics can come and present their capabilities to you based on what you need, and you get to pick. That's the cool thing. You're going to get some offers from a bunch of different people, and you get to pick who you want to continue talking with. And it's a great way to find a vendor for your next project or audit, or if you need a penetration test, you can go on there and create what we call a request for work, and vendors will come to you and offer up their services. So check out cyberfinders.com if you want to take a look at that. So today I'm going to be talking about identity theft, and more specifically, I'm going to talk a lot about identity theft towards seniors. Maybe you're wondering, well, why? Why am I talking about that? And maybe you're not a senior and you don't feel like you need to listen to this, but you might be able to get some good content out of this. And there's actually a big portion for, let's just say, the generation of people who are not seniors. There's a big role to play here as well. So the reason why I'm talking about this is I was recently interviewed for a local publication who was writing an article, and they wanted to talk to a cybersecurity expert about identity theft and just get some of my information and some of my thoughts. And so, it's probably not something that I spend a whole lot of time thinking about, but it's relevant, and I think it's important. I think people would like to hear about it, and I think there's some things to learn. So just want to toss some of my thoughts out there and just chat about, how does some of this identity theft go down, and what does it mean to you? So, typically when we see websites getting hacked, when we get reports and we see on the news that a certain big company has been compromised, you just name them, right? Almost all of the big ones at this point. And what happens is this data gets exfiltrated. That's the word that we use. So exfiltration of data is when data is no longer contained inside of a network, and the confidentiality of that data has been breached. It's been moved to a third party, an unauthorized third party. So somebody who's not supposed to have this data has this data, and you've got just this exposure of numerous different types of information. The word that we use here is actually called non-public information, so that's NPI. If you go look at any of the state data breach notification laws, almost all of them are using this term. We used to use like PII, EPHI. So PII is personally identifiable information, EPI is electronic protected health information. So we have these like acronyms that basically describe data about people. So NPI is exposed, and it's the confidentiality of that information has gone out. And so, a lot of people wonder, like, well, why does this matter to a hacker? Like, what are they doing with this? And again, I'm going to focus a little bit more on the seniors here, but you could probably draw some conclusions outside of this particular topic that may pertain a little bit more to you. So let's say I'm a hacker guy and I want to do some ID theft. I go on the dark web. I start browsing forums. I look at these hacker forums, and I'm looking for people selling dumps of information. Okay, and for NPI, the definition can vary, and it really depends on the state and the law that you're looking at and the regulation, right? So, but in generally, it just means information about somebody. So it could be your name, your address, your date of birth, your social security number, any medical information. That would be a little bit more EPHI. your phone number, your voting ID or driver's license, right? Anything that is an identification that can come back to you. And usually, by the way, NPI requires two of these together, so first name and email address, password and last name, right? So you have to typically have two of these put together for it to be considered NPI. So NPI gets dumped, hacker guy goes and downloads it, pays for it, and like, what are they doing with this information? So because I was talking about seniors, think about it this way. If I've stolen a list of information, I can create filters that are going to show me who the oldest members of that list are. I can sort it by date of birth. I can extract only the people that are over an X amount of age. So why would a hacker do that? And this is a theme that I'm going to talk about that I think is going to come up a lot in a lot of my videos. So if it gets repetitive over time, I'm sorry about that, but I think it's worth mentioning. Why are hackers doing this? They are looking for the path of least resistance. Hackers do not typically want to work hard unless they choose to. They really want to just go and get something as quickly as possible, as easily as possible, and something that doesn't take a lot of effort. Rinse and repeat, move on to the next target, get what you're looking for, move on, right? So it's more of a volume play. It's more of a numbers game. There are scenarios where businesses get targeted and individuals get targeted. That's a whole nother ballgame. It's a whole nother discussion. So we're just going to talk a little bit more about the wide net that gets cast to see how many people they can catch. So where am I going with this? Well, as the older generation is interacting with technology and they're starting to have phones and computers and email addresses and things like that, one thing that is challenging, I think, for this older generation and seniors is that they didn't grow up in this world. I'm kind of the age where I kind of did and I kind of didn't. I think I got my first computer when I was like 11, and I was very fascinated by it, and I was a little ahead of the game compared to my friends. And I kind of grew up in that world, but I also remember what it was like not being in this world where basically technology is a daily part of our lives. It wasn't always like that. And so if you grew up without that for most of your life, you may have a little bit of a struggle understanding the risks that come along with using technology to make your life very convenient. And I have this in one of my other presentations. Risk is the price we pay for the use of technology. Okay, so there are these challenges that are presented because of this nice thing that's helping us. And so if you didn't grow up in this world and you don't understand these risks, you would be more susceptible to being attacked, and the more likelihood that a successful attack would be launched against you because you just don't have the know-how. And it's nobody's fault. It's just a matter of how things have played out. Now, don't get me wrong. This doesn't mean every senior is, negligently using their device or anything like that. But I think if we're going to generalize, we would say that generation probably just has less experience, and that's just how it is. So hackers are targeting these older individuals, these seniors, because they know that they can be tricked easier than maybe the younger generation. We have a little bit more awareness as a younger generation who grew up with these devices and this technology in our lives. So they're targeting older generations, taking exfiltrated data, looking at who the oldest people are. We've also got, let's say the spreadsheet has phone numbers, addresses, things like that, right? So now we can start targeting these people. The other thing that I want to mention is there's also this concept of your online persona, your online identity. If you know my email address, you can probably go figure some things out about me. If I know somebody else's and I know what state they live in or the company that they work for, I can start collecting information. And by the way, there are hacker tools that will do this for you and make your life easier to learn about a person. So this has already been automated. So it just makes I talked about the numbers and the frequency, right? This just makes the attack go by so much faster. So we're targeting a senior where we have their phone number. We're able to do some sort of profile about them. We understand what they're interested in. We know what site they've signed up for. And so we can start targeting them and with different techniques. So what do those techniques look like? So I got a couple of notes here. I want to read them off. So the techniques used to trick somebody and what we're actually trying to go after is a little bit different. So I want to talk about the hacker techniques. And like I said, this is going to come up a lot. So one of the things that hackers are going to do is they're going to impersonate somebody. They're going to make you think that they are somebody else. And this goes back to trust. Okay, if you didn't see my second vlog video, go back and listen to the trust discussion. When trust is established, we tend to behave in a certain way. We expect a certain behavior. If we have trust in somebody, we believe that they will act as they are intending to, and that they have our best interest in mind. But when a hacker is impersonating trust and we're operating in that model, we're trusting somebody that doesn't have our best interest in mind. So we have a trust problem. So how do they establish trust? They do it through the impersonation. There are phone calls that'll happen where they'll claim they're Microsoft, or they're from your bank or your credit card, and they need some information, right? So they're impersonating somebody so that you can trust them. The next thing that we see happening is some sort of elicitation. I don't know what's the word. Eliciting towards emotions, making somebody feel something. And I talk a lot about like the mental game of cybersecurity and the how personality gets involved. And so when we can start eliciting emotion from somebody, we can start making them do something for us. I mean, this is old school Kevin Mitnick hacker social engineering techniques that have been well documented for many, many years. So we're going to elicit an emotion, so we can go two different directions. So one of the emotions can be like happiness or excitement. Hey, you've won an award, or you claim your gift card, or here, you won $50, give us your password, log in really quick. So the hacker can create this positive emotion that makes somebody want to do something that's going to benefit them. So, I mean, why do you think the Nigerian prince scam has been around so long? It's because people think they're going to get a lot of money, and maybe there's some relief behind that and some excitement, right? So playing to this emotion is very, very, I don't know if useful is a word, but very successful typically. So you can actually go the other way too. So instead of playing to this happiness emotion, we can play to something a little bit more sinister. So something darker. So if you're ever finding yourself in a situation where somebody is urging you to do something really quickly, or there's a time frame that you need to meet something by, right? So we are listening an emotion of time that we need to finish something. Other ways that this can go is maybe more like bullying tactics or intimidation. I've seen this happen as well. I had a acquaintance whose father was being scammed for many, many, many years, and they were intimidating him. And they were telling him his family was going to get hurt if he didn't do this and he didn't do that. And so you can really go anywhere in the spectrum between these excitement and happiness to this bullying and intimidation and fear. So they're playing on human emotion. Okay. And I think another big thing to mention too is that I think that seniors are generally trusting of whoever calls them, whoever emails them. I don't think that there's been a big discussion around the fact that they need to be careful about these things and that they can't just trust everybody. And it's like being on the street, right? You don't just trust everybody. You may have your guard up, or you may just keep your eye out and see who's around. And same thing online, right? We don't really we use a little bit of a different mindset. So that takes me to like my next thought is like, what can we do about this? How can we help seniors from being targeted and by these ID theft gangs and criminals that are trying to hurt them? Like, what can we do? And so my like number one takeaway about all of this is that it comes down to the younger generation propping up and supporting the older generation that raised them, the ones that took care of them, the ones that provided for them, the ones that met their basic needs. It's now time to repay that favor. And you kind of see this life cycle playing out, this switch from parenting to being a child and growing up and taking care of your parents. And I think this is a really important piece of the puzzle. And I think that if we're ever going to really get on top of this problem, we need this younger generation to step up for a number of reasons. Obviously, number one is they just understand technology better. They also have more interactions, right? There's probably an opportunity to call your grandmother and grandfather and say, hey, just want to catch up. Let me tell you about this thing I heard today. It's important for you to know. And, there's some three important words that show up a lot in my life, and that is resilience, introspection, and community. And this is that community aspect, right? So the community being an important part of us as human beings to take care of each other and be there for each other and support each other, and understanding that we need to come together as a community to be successful. So that's my message for you. If you're listening to this, you're younger generation, pick up the phone, call your grandparents, call your parents, and remind them that they need to be safe, and offer a line of communication. Hey, if you're ever unsure, you can call me. If you ever think you've made a mistake, you can call me. If you're not sure, call me. Okay? So we can offer our support to them. Now, there's other ways that we can do this too. And hey, what a great Christmas gift, or some sort of gift, right? How about buying them a credit monitoring service? Buy them an identity monitoring service, a credit monitoring service, and these really aren't that expensive for what they're worth. It's kind of just like having insurance. And the same way that we're going to insure our cars, the same way we're going to insure our houses, we need to insure our identities as well. The other thing we can do is, and this kind of goes hand in hand, because sometimes when you buy these credit monitoring services, you get software, cybersecurity software. They're going to give you antivirus or VPN. So if it's not coming with the credit monitoring service or the ID theft monitoring service, make sure that you go get this. Go get endpoint protection software platform. A lot of times you get multiple license. Buy one for yourself. Go over to your grandparents' house, install it, or walk them through it. VPN. Turn on a VPN for them. Make sure that they're protected when they go into Starbucks and they're using their phones and things like that. If you don't understand exactly fully how to explain that to them, just let them know that it's in their best interest to use their VPNs. And then I think one of the most important things we can provide to them is a password manager. It's well documented, as we get older, we start forgetting things. And so it's easier to remember the same password over and over again. If that password gets hacked and it's out on the dark web, now we've got numerous sources where it's reused across many different platforms, and it's just a host of problems. So password manager for all of your parents and your grandparents, encourage them to do this. Give it as gifts. Tell them it's going to help them. And that's how I think the younger generation can really help. Now, my vision for this is honestly like a home cybersecurity education platform, one where it's incorporated into maybe your high-speed internet package, and it's a quick set of videos that if you want to learn a little bit better about what cybersecurity means and how you protect yourself, that there's some sort of platform that people can log into. I think this is what needs to start happening, because we do have these services, we do have these platforms mostly for work, but we don't have them for individuals who are at home or working from home or have their own businesses. I think it needs to be available to everybody. So I guess that's kind of why I'm making some of these videos in the first place. So, can you hear that loud? Thank you, fire truck, for interrupting my video. You know what? I don't go back and record these. I don't edit them. Just this is what happens. I have learned to silence my phone, so that's off. But yeah. So fire truck. I think this kind of brings me back, or it kind of brings me to the end. I also want to say that, I guess a couple other quick tips. Think about your online persona, your online identity. Where your email address is used, the handles that you're using, the passwords that you're using, the platforms you're signing into, and think about how you're managing that, and think about how you can segregating them. Maybe financial transactions all go under one email account. Maybe if you like to play games and you register for a site, that goes under a different one. So I think it's good to separate these things. And I think, let's see, last thing that I have here is that there are other resources for the government. If you go to the FBI website, you can actually report fraud. You can report identity theft attempts. And they have a lot of resources that you can go and read and things like that that'll really help. So if you do have this conversation with your grandparents, it may be good for you to spend some time looking at those websites, getting some information, and then locking down some talking points that you can use to speak to them. So that is my talk today. Next time we'll do something different, but I hope you enjoyed this one. I just want to repeat it again. If you are a business and you're looking for some support on how to get on top of your cybersecurity, I'm the guy to talk to. You can reach me down here at the bottom. You can go to my website, techxcyber.com. You can reach me at dustin@techxcyber.com. And if you're a business and you're looking for some cybersecurity services or some help, you're not sure where to look, you don't want to go, trying to find 10 vendors, let them come to you. Go to cyberfinders.com. You can register for a free account, create a request for work, and let those come in, take a look at them, and pick which one you want. So thanks for listening, and I will catch you guys next time.